But, Rob, let's stay there. And good news for the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray will not be suspended. He will be fined $100,000 for throwing a heating pad onto the court. I guess he was throwing it at an official, but it landed on the court in the middle of the painted area. No player stepped on it, fortunately, but a couple came close. Rob, the fan in me is glad that he's not suspended. If Denver's going to go down, I want them to go down, at full force if they can. You hate to see any series or game determined by a player inavailability, whether it's injury or suspension, whatever it is. But in this case, Rob, to me, this is so egregious that if I'm the committee, I don't even care what the rule says. You cannot throw something onto the court while players are playing. And I would have suspended him for a game. I just don't know how you don't. I hate to say it because it's unfortunate, but I don't know how you don't suspend somebody for that.
Well, I just think you have to go by what you have in your bylaws and your rules. You can't make up rules as you go along. If that's not – because if that's just a technical for doing that during the regular – then it has to be a technical now. If he does that in the regular season and he's just going to be assessed a technical foul, then it's the same thing. You can't go, you can't do that in a playoff game. Well, which one is it? So now, Chris, if they go back and relook at this and decide that if somebody throws anything on the court and it's going to be an automatic ejection from the game and a suspension, then you can live with that. But if I'm the players union and they tried to suspend him, they wouldn't. The league wouldn't have a leg to stand on because there's no precedent for it. There's no history of doing that, and I get it what you're saying, but they've made it to where it's a misdemeanor and not a felony.
Well,
that's the way it's written.
What is it? Because I know that's what the referee said, but there's also been some reporting that they don't really have a rule for that. Is that correct, Rob G? Because it's like you just don't anticipate.
Right, exactly.
There are rules for guys throwing things in the crowd, Rob,
sure,
off the court, but not on the court. Is that true? Right? Is that
there is no explicit rule, as far as I can tell, that regulates objects being thrown by players onto the court, because I don't think they ever anticipated this situation ever occurring.
I mean, I got I don't
what
know
does
what
it say,
in the
though,
world.
Rob G, it's a technical.
Yeah,
though.
but the way that the official described the situation in the postgame, his feeling was if something was thrown on the court, it would be an automatic technical because you're interrupting the flow of the game. If it was thrown maliciously, like I'm aiming this throw at Anthony Edwards, then
I run up to the official and throw it in his face,
then that
you're
would
going to
be
get
an ejection.
ejected.
Yes.
But he threw it at the official.
Yes, then it would be an ejection. But because they said they could not determine what his intention was, that they would not be able to eject him. And that's
I mean, that shows, which I understand, that they didn't want to eject him or suspend him because, it's a huge game. Denver has very little chance, you would think, of winning without him. And they don't want that to mar a series. I get that sentiment.
But
if you're going to let players, and like we said, I'm going off of the understanding that there is no cut and dried rule. But
then why do you think the NBA is doing this? Then
because I think they don't want to suspend him, and I think they're saying they're going almost like a loophole. Well, we can't determine his intention. And so
if they
that
really
gives
believe,
them the out.
They really believe that
it don't matter what they don't. I don't think they want to suspend him.
See, here's where I disagree with you. When the rule with the Knicks and the Heat,
that was David Stern. That's a whole different regime.
But I'm just saying. But the rule was, if you leave the bench, you're going to be suspended. The Knicks lost that series. They lost 7 players.
Rob, but
the fight was on their end, but it was laid out.
I don't even think they should have suspended him. I think you go more by the spirit than the letter.
They should have suspended. I remember that, Chris. And they should have suspended all those players for one game instead of they took away the Knicks team for both games.
Because it was so many guys.
It should have been one game. You lose that game. You know what I mean? And then you play game 7 at full strength. Like they took half the team.
Ewing shouldn't have been suspended. Ewing's down on the whole other end of the court.
That was terrible.
Yeah, but that was David Stern. That's a whole different regime. Rob, Ephraim was right. Ephraim Salam. You know how dangerous that was?
You never say that. I never hear you say that often.
It's the first time ever. No. But a player could have easily stepped on that thing, slid, maybe pulled a groin, hamstring, turned an ankle, a knee injury. I mean, that, and regardless of that, Rob, I don't think that's any less ridiculous than a player just getting up off the bench and walking onto the court and playing. Like, as a sixth player on the floor. Like, what in the world entered Jamal Murray's mind to think that he could throw a heating pad at an official onto the court? That's like lunacy.
No, I get it. But it didn't feel like they had a leg to stand on it, because I believe if they really believe that Jamal Murray got up.
What do you think they believe?
I think that they don't have a precedent to do that. I just don't think that if it hit the official. They don't have a precedent
not to do it.
If it hit the official, he threw it and he got up and threw it in his face or threw it right at his feet, Chris. Then you got a different take on it. I just don't think that they can honestly look at that and go, oh yeah, you got to get him out of the game. He's not going to play, because I don't believe that. I don't believe that they're not doing it just because. I get the money part, and I brought it up to Ephraim, and NBA doesn't want sweeps. You know that, Chris. They don't make money off of sweeps, so that's not what they want for the league. I just think in this case, they did the only thing they could do.
How is it the only thing they could do? The Players Association would need to chill because you put players in danger.
No, I mean,
you can't take one player over 10.
Yeah,
the 10 that were out on the court were in danger.
But you also have to make sure that this is what has been policy and done
There
before.
hasn't been a policy. You ever seen something like that? We've never seen that.
You're telling me that nobody ever threw a ball, threw something on the court?
I can't recall.
I mean, you don't remember it, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I haven't seen anything as egregious as that.
So okay,
like that. And again, I mean, I can't say I'm happy about it because it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth that you don't suspend somebody for something like that. But the competitive spirit, I'm glad he's able to play just because it gives Denver their best chance. But Rob, I mean, that's one of those egregious things to me that it's just like there has to be a significant punishment. And $100,000, there's really no amount. I don't care if it's $500,000 to a player. It's just not that big of a deal. But well, he will be there and they will have their best shot. At the end of the day, Rob, he was frustrated. And so they have
He's shooting 28% from the field.
Yeah, and he's being hounded like crazy. He wasn't frustrated against the Lakers, and he wasn't shooting a good percentage either. But
they weren't shooting 28%.
They all up in his grill. Like, there's a reason they shooting poorly, Rob. These dudes are swarming them. But we'll see. We'll see if they come back in Game 3.
Mike Malone's a good coach. He's going to have to figure something out. That's all. You gotta
he is a good coach, but their coaches are limited too. Like, I mean, I'm looking at that. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a head coach, but it's not just make some adjustments. Man, these dudes are a lot longer and quicker than them. They're a lot faster, and they're tenacious. And Ephraim made a good point about if they did that at altitude, what are they going to do at regular, sea level, I guess. So